started from strong request from ex-Prime Minister, the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi of Ethiopia, asking for two things. One is we want to do policy dialogue with a GRIPS expert. The other is we would like to have the Kaizen project in Ethiopia.
Welcome to Dial in Japan. I'm Shin Yamaguchi. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Professor Izumi Ohno, Professor Emeritus at the National Graduate Institute of Policy Studies and former director of the JICA Ogata Sadako Research Institute for Peace and Development. Professor Ohno has served on various government advisory panels in the area of international development and had recently received the Foreign Minister's Commendation for her promotion of international cooperation. Professor Ohno, thanks for joining.
Thank you very much, Shin-san. It's my great pleasure and honor to be with you.
Professor Ohno, I've seen you on the main stage at various global conferences. I've seen you lead working groups of international scholars and practitioners. I've learned so much from you over the years, so I'm really delighted to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you very much.
Now, before we go into policy and practice, I want to start with something more personal. How did you get involved? How were you inspired to join, to enter the area of international development?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I had two special experience at the university time. Actually, I was graduated from Tsuda University,
yes,
which was originated by the private school founded by Umeko Tsuda.
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
Which was established in late Meiji. Tsuda Umeko is the first Japanese woman who studied in United States.
Exactly.
And then when she came back, she started to establish the women's school for educating women to be a professional, the person. So my university itself has such an atmosphere to motivate us to have an ambition and also to be international. So having said that, I have two specific experiences. First one is to meeting with my supervisor of a thesis and also seminar. She is late Professor Motoko Katakura. She is an anthropologist doing the research on the lives of Bedouin, the nomad, female nomad in the desert in Middle East. I am so passionate by her talk about the lives of Bedouin women in the desert, and then she really talk about that. I think how she's engaged in conversation with them. And at the same time, she is a diplomat, the wife, and also she has a mother. She's a mother, and she has a rich international experiences. So the way she told us in those classes really made me think it is really possible to combine various functions like international career and also having a family, and then doing a lot of researches by own your pace. So this really inspired for me. So I really admire her as a role model.
So mentor.
Yes,
model,
that's right.
yeah.
That's right. So this is a really great opportunity for me. The second experience is that my third year, the experience in junior, my first visit overseas is Alaska in Eskimo communities.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about where to go before graduation of
Sure.
universities, and then normally people talk about London, Paris, New York, and I was thinking like that. But my senior clubmate at the ESS, English Speaking Society, told me, Izumi, you can go those places anytime after graduation. So you should be much more advantageous taking these opportunities and adventurous taking these opportunities. So she introduced me the American NPO with an intercultural exchange program in Alaska. And then she strongly recommended I should join. So I determined to be there together with my friend. And then that program is very much impressive. It brought many people from different world and also different gender. Some people have a handicapped persons with help. So, but our objective is to try to have a different kind of culture, people together, and also living in the Eskimo community, which is going through a lot of changes. It was a time in Alaska, oil field was discovered.
Right.
Suddenly, many American oil companies came to Alaska. Yeah. And then they started kind of develop pipeline, and Eskimo people got employed, but their culture started to change totally. Now they have a cash culture. Some of them started to drink alcohol. They had some violence, domestic violence, the cultural preservation movement. So many things are taking place. So the idea was to stay in a very small town called Barrow, facing the Antarctic Ocean, and then have those kind of different experiences together with different people. Actually, I worked for NPO who are protecting women and kids who have violence from their husband. My friend worked for a university project which is preserving Eskimo culture. So all those experiences made me think about what is about development. And then as my graduation time approaches from the university, I started to look for the job. And then it was a time before employment, equal employment job opportunities law was enacted. It was before that.
Before that,
yeah.
okay.
So JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, is one of the few organizations which give opportunity for almost equal opportunity for men and women to work on the international cooperation. So this is why I got interested in working there, and that is the beginning of my career in international development.
Wow, amazing. Just fascinating how formative experiences, formative mentoring relationships, those can change your outlook on life, outlook on career, in ways that perhaps you don't necessarily anticipate at the time.
That's right. Yeah, it just happened like that.
And now when you reflect on why you've been in international development, those were the experiences. Well, and then from there, you went to Princeton for your graduate studies. You were at JICA, World Bank, then academia, government advisory boards, think tanks. You had quite a wide-ranging career, and I do want to come back to various projects you've been working on. But before we go into talk about Ethiopia and recent changes to the JICA Act, which you've been involved with. Let's step back for a second. For those listeners who aren't as familiar, can you walk us through Japan's evolving approach to ODA, and also what makes Japan distinct in that regard?
Yeah, I see. So I think Japan has a very unique experience of development, and so that has maybe I think I can contribute a lot to the international development and development cooperation, because Japan is the first non-Western country which succeeded in industrialization and catching up with the West. So we had a latecomer perspective. Also, we have experience in receiving aid from foreign countries.
Right.
Also, we have lots of experience in giving foreign aid to other partners. So, latecomer perspective, together with dual experience of aid recipient and aid donor, has a lot of kind of important features for Japan. For example, in the case of Meiji time, because Japan was kind of shocked to see that the black ship coming to Japan at the end of Edo. And then we are really shocked about that our backwardness of the technology. So learning foreign technology and knowledge became the national agenda, national project.
That was critical at the time.
That's right, yeah. But at that time, there was no foreign aid system. No foreign aid was available.
So how do you go about doing it?
Yeah, so we have to do everything by ourselves. So the Meiji government utilized own resources to invite foreign people, and also we sent many kind of policy makers and young people to the overseas. I think Umeko Tsuda was one of them. She was at that time 6 years old. Yeah, like that. Yeah. So I mean, you have to work on by your own kind of resources for catching up, and self-help, self-reliant development became one of the important philosophy of Japanese maybe development itself. The other is after maybe World War II, Japanese economy was devastated, so we have to rebuild our economy and societies. Of course, the U.S. occupied Japan for certain years, and then but they gave a lot of support for humanitarian support and also reconstruction. And then after Japan became independent through San Francisco Treaty, we started to join Bretton Woods system in the World Bank and also IMF. Then Japan started to borrow from the World Bank loan for its own economic development, like financing Shinkansen or Tomei expressway or Kurobe hydroelectric dam, Aichi, all the infrastructure for in industry and in the agriculture development has been funded by the World Bank. Also, we got a lot of technology and knowledge. So I think we really working with the foreign the partners through learning is a very important part of Japanese development. At the same time, I have to say, after the World War II, now foreign aid system is established. So the Japan also started to give foreign aid to neighboring countries, starting with the Colombo Plan in 1954, Security Technical Cooperation, and then Japan started to also give the reparation of war to neighboring countries because we invaded in neighboring country in Asia, so we have to make the compensation, but our resources are limited. So we had some in-kind Japanese people, Japanese business companies started to do economic infrastructure development for neighboring countries. This is how our development cooperation started. And then in 60s, Japan also joined OECD. So in a sense that while we are even receiving aid from World Bank, and we also already started to give foreign aid to other countries. So in a sense, that means
as the economy progresses, you're doing
right.
both. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So such kind of dual kind of experience made a very special features of maybe Japan as the partner of development cooperation. So as I said, that the self-reliant development and also respecting ownership of the country, because each country is unique, its history. So when we learn from foreign countries, you have to adapt to your own situation. So we have to be careful about local sensitivities. So local adaptation or translative adaptation, which I call, you have to translate the elements and then you have to adapt to your own things are very important. And then to do it, you have to understand the reality on the ground. So looking into Gemba, the place where real things are happening is very important. So Gemba orientation and working through actual people and in an equal partnership and co-creation, those are the very, very important things. So I think those are kind of also reflected to the key elements of Japanese development cooperation. The other thing is that probably because Japan had a war, so we had a lot of reflection on that. So we determined to be a peace-loving countries. So I think respect for human dignity and peace and human security, those are very, I think, important, underground element of Japanese development cooperation.
Yeah. And you talked about, I know this is, you've been doing quite a bit of work in this area, but the idea of making sure that international development cooperation is tailor-made and takes into account the societal infrastructure, the local customs in each country, each area where Japan is involved. And with that, I do want to talk a little bit about your experience in Ethiopia, where you were quite involved for an extended amount of time at high level. First off, how did that collaboration come about with Ethiopia?
Thank you for the questions. Actually, I worked for Ethiopia for more than 15 years, starting from 2008 as a part of GRIPS, National Graduate Institute for Policy Study, my university
you're a professor,
team. For the industrial policy dialogue, together with JICA, it's the JICA supported project, and also together with Japanese embassy in Ethiopia as a kind of joint effort. It started from strong request from ex-Prime Minister, the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi of Ethiopia. He is a very developmental leader. He is very serious about his country's development. And then, as you know, that Japan organized, together with international organizations, that they regularly Tokyo International Conference for African Development, TICAD. And it was 2008 when fourth TICAD Ticket 4 was organized, and one of the topic was the sharing Asian experiences for African development. And there was a kind of conference organized and then chaired by former JICA President, Madam Sadako Ogata. And then Prime Minister Emeritus was one of the participants, and he got so much interest in that discussion. So after Ticket conference, fourth Ticket, JICA Research Institute organized a follow-up academic conference together with Professor Joseph Stiglitz. He is a Nobel Prize the Nobel Economic Prize winner. So those conferences focusing on what is the Asian experiences, how applicable to African development. And Prime Minister Meles was there for 2 days, full day, and listening to all the discussion. We had the honor to be invited together with many scholars to make presentation and discussion. And normally, Prime Minister just come for the opening remarks, right? Yeah, but he stayed there for 2 days, sitting together with the Professor Stiglitz and listening to all the discussion. So we thought this is a very special occasion. So we made a presentation. At the same time, we presented our publication, which contains some 2 chapters. One is East Asian Approach to Development, written by us. The other is the article by the JICA's Kaizen project in Tunisia. Kaizen is a Japanese approach in improving productivity at the factory floor with a participatory approach of the workers and the managers. And then,
which is based on the Japan experience.
That's right. So, and then this is written by the Japanese expert, which is working for Kaizen in many parts of the world. And then Prime Minister Meles was reading that, and then I think he got interested in those 2 chapters. So after this conference, he communicated with the Japanese ambassador in Ethiopia and asking for 2 things. One is we want to do policy dialogue with a GRIPS expert to sharing the mutual experiences for in the Ethiopia industrial development. The other is we would like to have the Kaizen project in Ethiopia, and I will make sure that those kind of projects would be successful. So there are very strong requests, and also he even wrote to my Kenichi Ohno. He's my partner. At the same time, he's a leader of Ethiopian policy dialogue, and how he really was kind of eager to learn from East Asian development experiences. So we have had a very much kind of fruitful discussion for many years. In the early years, we visited 4 times a year to Ethiopia, and then we met personally with Prime Minister. He asked a lot of questions, and also of course we met with his economic team of Ministry of Industry, Ethiopian Investment Commission, Ethiopian Industrial Parks Development, the corporation, the private sector, and we really had a very fruitful exchange. Lamentably, he passed away, but his successor, the Prime Minister Haile Mariam, was also serious. So we continued that kind of dialogue. So that continued until recently. The pity thing is that after that, I think Ethiopia had some internal conflict, ethnic conflict. So that diverted some attention of the resources from the development. So now at the situation, we visit less often than before to Ethiopia. So we really think that the development is really difficult and challenging task. It's not so easy, it's not so linear, but we really learned a lot. And the eagerness, the seriousness of the kind of leaders really made us really feel like we are really responsible in respond to the request as much as possible. This is how we got in.
So the firm commitment and enthusiasm from leadership of the country was critical from the get-go and continued. And it was interesting because Ethiopia has its own industries, textile, agriculture, etc. And so they, on one hand, they wanted to learn from the success stories of Japan, East Asia, Tunisia, but then they had to somehow internalize that and then translate that into their own industry or own economy. Is that how it worked out? Was there a kind of a process of learning and then implementing, or how did that work?
Thank you very much for very, very critical question. Yeah, actually, I think let me share one example in regarding Kaizen, because Kaizen is a Japanese approach, right? In improving the productivity, making some suggestions for the workers in democratic way. Actually, this itself is a translative adaptation because Japan learned it from United States. The methodology of statistical quality control. It is much more kind of analytical, statistical for the engineers, no? But when we learned it, we thought that in the Japanese, we have to work as a family, with the company as a family, so everybody have to participate. So it's a kind of Japanese way adaptation. So when we JICA expert work for Ethiopia in sharing Japanese experience Kaizen, I think Ethiopian counterpart people thought about, well, this is very useful to learn from Japanese way of quality control circle in everybody have a say. But Ethiopian people, they said, is more he think that the hierarchical way. So maybe the worker may not have a kind of may not voice their opinion freely.
So the Ethiopian way of communication and organization is different.
Yeah. So I think
How
Ethiopia. So that we let them to think about it.
So and they provide you the input on some of these high-level discussions. You provide presentation. They come back and say, okay, well, in our country. Yeah.
And also, it is kind of initiative of the Ethiopian counterpart because they also try to do hard work for Ethiopia. So what they came up was, it is mix of top-down. So companies kind of leadership will also appoint the quality circle kind of team, Kaizen promotion team. They have a different name. So not waiting for the workers kind of voluntary kind of the participatory approach, the QC circle, they ordered from the top. And then they made it happen. So this is kind of one of the maybe adaptation. And also there are other way how to maybe make a textbook more understandable for the Ethiopian culture. There are many variations not to do it. So I think that this is the kind of way how we work together. But I think industrial policy dialogue together with Kaizen project made it kind of facilitated because I think JICA's Kaizen project works on specific way in the project. But if there's some discussion is needed, we can pick up those things in the dialogue. Yes. And also, if necessary, we can share it with a higher level, the policy makers. So if this approach is more suitable, then we can also share it with the Prime Minister Meles or Minister of Industries, so they understand that what is better for Ethiopia. So that kind of combination of specific project on the ground, and then see what works, what doesn't work, what is good for Ethiopia, and then how replicate it, how to scale up. Those conversations, I think we could have done. So that is a very, very, I think, useful. Yeah.
Right. So you have the high-level dialogue. Yeah. You're involved with the ministers on one hand, and then you have on the ground. Yeah.
Going together parallel.
In Ethiopia as well. Which is just to follow up. You just talked about working together. And Ethiopia is very committed to this Kaizen project.
That's right.
On the Japan side, what was the commitment? How did you get the commitment for such a long project? You had people posted to Ethiopia from JICA Foreign Service, kind of continued support. How did that?
Yeah. Of course, that in normally Japanese kind of organization, you have a kind of regular rotation.
Rotation
system.
So
every 2 or 3 years, staff change. So that is kind of inevitable. Even ambassador changes, or JICA kind of the staff in charge will change. But I think, the JICA project have a certain life, like 5 years or 3 years, right? And then so there's some understanding of what we have to do. And particularly if your partner is so much committed, I think we feel like responsible as a team. And also my JICA is very supportive for our engagement. So maybe professors do not have any rotations. So we have to work for the project, and we really like that the people there. So that
you were there many times.
Yeah. So that's why that we have a really great kind of opportunities to work with them for almost 15 years. So I am so thankful for also that the JICA or Japanese embassy for their allowing us to be engaged with them. Yeah.
And when you talk about your Ethiopian involvement, you don't characterize it necessarily as an unequivocal success, as you mentioned earlier, that it was a deep learning process, but there's so much change in the world these days that you then from Ethiopia, I think the Kaizen project is now broadening to Africa as a whole.
That's right.
So it's kind of, there's percolating, you're building, everybody's building on that experience to move forward in different countries.
Right. Yeah. Now I think JICA is working with the African Union Development Agency, the NEPAD, out the NEPAD is a kind of international organization investing in South Africa for African development and continental African development, and then to share that the spread that Kaizen experiences, and also JICA has other countries Kaizen project like Tunisia or Tanzania or Ghana but you can maybe do Kaizen project in a 9 or 10 countries, but you gotta do all the continent, right? So engaging that African Development Agency for this importance of productivity improvement and also sharing experience among those African countries, because Tanzania has a different way of doing Kaizen and Cameroon has a different way, Ghana has a different way. So having a kind of mutual exchange
learn from each other.
That's right. So it's not that Japan is teaching, this is Kaizen, this should be done. It's just like coming from their experiences. So each country have a different culture, even among African countries. So also that some countries have a much more strong private sector. So in the case of Ethiopia, Ethiopian Kaizen Institute, now it is Kaizen Excellence Center, is a public sector instructor is kind of guiding Kaizen methodology for their private company. But in other countries like Cameroon, there are more kind of private sector consultants are already there. So they are kind of trained and they are provide those Kaizen services. So it's a different way how country works. So I think Africa Kaizen Initiative working together with EU, NEPAD, is a very, I think, important, the mutual learning. So that kind of things will also facilitate local adaptation and the mutual learning. Also co-creation. It's not Japan dictating, this is the best practice model of Kaizen. So I think we should keep doing that,
Right, so Japan being a part of the development of the local economy and the recipient, the local economy, the country working with various actors, which is obviously, they work with your various international organizations, different countries in Japan, playing its part.
That's right.
Depending on whatever that local country, where they are in the stage of growth or, industries, etc. I do want to come back to some of this, but let's talk about the present.
Yes.
So ODA is constantly evolving.
That's right.
The Japanese government's approach to international development as well as change in the world. We have geopolitics, environmental issues, all the global issues that the countries have to deal with. You recently chaired a task force which advised the Ministry of Foreign Affairs which ultimately resulted in the revision of the JICA Act.
Oh, okay.
What was the reasons what brought these revisions to JICA Act, and maybe you can talk a little bit about where the state of ODA in that regard.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. As you said that I think last April 2025, the Japanese Diet approved amendment of JICA law, JICA Act, to allow JICA for more diverse instrument in working with private sector and those that together with the working private sector investment in developing countries. And so I think this will give a lot of opportunity for JICA to engage in the business and development nexus. And then generally speaking, not only Japan, I think business actors and development actors are getting together more closely in the recent years.
Yes, there's more mobilization of private investment.
That's right.
We've had discussions on this.
For various reasons. So I think first reason is that because of the private sector's activities on a global, in developing country, emerging market is kind of evolving, expanding a
growing,
lot.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
for various reasons, like because their growth rate is much higher than developed countries, so emerging market and developing countries, also their population are growing. So for private capital flowing into developing countries exceed much more than the volume of ODA, official development assistance. And many advanced countries' government is suffering from that fiscal constraints, and also US and European countries recently announced that the major aid budget cut. So there's a kind of limit of that official resources available. On the other hand, there are many challenges we face. So like a SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, and to achieve various goals is important for developing countries too. But there are huge financial gap. So according to UN, like a $4 trillion per year is necessary. But maybe it is even more because of recent US and European decision to reduce ODA. So I think from a developmental side, it's really important to work with private sector, which has even more kind of resources and also powers and have that impact in developing countries. This is the first reason. Second reason is that the importance of maybe private sector's kind of power for innovation and also technology, because the development challenge is so complex. So I don't think one single actor can solve all the problems, like digital things and climate things and infectious diseases, disaster. Everybody has to work together, bring in their own strengths. So private sector is a very important because that their knowledge and also their expertises, their maybe dynamism for bringing innovation would be very important. So for that reason, to really solving complex social problem, development challenges, working together with business sector is important. From the third reason is from maybe private sector perspective. Also, I think they feel like it is important to work for development actors because their activities kind of expand in many parts of the developing countries, and at the same time, there are strong voices for social. Corporate social responsibilities. So global value chain of the companies, business, is spreading many parts of the world. At the same time, that we are aware that the importance of human rights, decent work, and also green, the resource kind of preservation. Those are really important, and companies have to be responsible for that. And I think for the companies to work with the actors who know the local situation, and also those human network and how the government is thinking about, those are very important. So I guess that for the private sector also too, that working with the development the actors would be very, very important. Maybe if
Please,
may I add? Yeah, add for maybe Japanese dimension. Yeah, because in the case of Japan, we have maybe one more dimension to think about. Because in Japan, we are facing aging society, declining birth rate, fewer children. So for the Japanese local economies, particularly small and medium enterprises, I think having a network with overseas business opportunities is important. Of course, that this is also common for large companies, but I think big company already doing that in global activities. But for SME, they have a good kind of technology and skill to solve various kind of problem, not only in Japan, but also developing countries, but they don't have any network. They have a limited kind of maybe communication ability, those things. So working with development actor like JICA or NGO and research institute, local communities, that will be very, very important. So I think development partner can be also catalyst in working with them. So I think that maybe JICA law amendment will encourage all those things. Already, I think JICA or development community has been working a lot in collaborating with the business sector, but I think it will be a very big push that the law amendment will imply. So this is what I think, yeah.
So the JICA Act itself, which allowed JICA to engage in more blended finance, if you will, and take some risk, et cetera. That represents something actually bigger, which is that ODA is going to become more of a catalyst. JICA is going to be more of a catalyst. There has been various programs between Japan and, say, Africa at education level, at entrepreneurship level, et cetera. But it will begin to kind of manifest itself in various forms, such as this SME, more collaboration, just more back and forth. And of course, we have TCAD every 3 years, and in TCAD 9, which last in August of 2025, I feel that there was a lot of discussion around the JICA Act and what it was going to bring, and also I felt that there was a lot of momentum in that regard, compared to, say, TCAD 7, which is 2019, if I recall, and there was
I think we are together around that time.
We had a chance to catch up, but
that's right.
And you were on panels, but I think that there was more momentum in that regard, and I think that's where you're speaking to, that this represents more than just the
Thank you
act
very
itself.
much for that. Yeah, those are complimentary remarks.
Interesting. And you mentioned that we do live in a complex world. We do live in a world where international development is going in various directions. From a recipient country perspective, what is the contribution? What would they look for from Japan, especially? What are some of the strengths that Japan brings to?
I think we need to ask the recipient.
Exactly.
But each donor have a different strengths. So I don't think that Japan is the only country which is very good at, no? And also we have some weakness. But as I said, that working together hand in hand and not with the top-down approach, I think we kind of work together in equal partners. And also we are very sensitive about that the local situation, because this is how maybe Japanese development came about. So that kind of sensitivity to the local specific situation and also equal partnership is a very important, also build a foundation for building trust.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you talk a lot about trust and also that it has to be long-term.
That's right.
That's important.
Yeah. For example, maybe Levin coming back to Ethiopia, but I think when Prime Minister Meles told us that, he said, he is working for many different development partners. So he said that for Germany, he thinks that they have a very good at the vocational education because that the German has a lot of kind of craftsmanship. So they are dual education system. So Ethiopia wants to learn from Germany for that the vocational education system. And they say that I think China is very good in that very speedy like infrastructure development. So industrial parks developments they can do just quickly. But for Japan, he said that Japan is very good in productivity improvement at the factory floor on the participatory way, and the company's kind of that the capability development and the gemba based, no?
Yes.
So this is the strength. So I think recipient country look around the different kind of partners, and then which area maybe they would like to approach to maybe
depending
Japan.
on their needs, their situation.
That's right. But I think in the case of Japan, I think we are the really, as I said, that we Japanese expert may not be so good at saying a big kind of theoretical things, and then maybe they are not so kind of very good at making big speech, and but I think they are very happy to work on the ground in the agriculture crop field or farm new factory floor, and then so Japanese experts don't say, okay, this is dangerous, no, for safety standard. So okay, you should read this guideline. So be careful about this safety guideline. I think Japanese experts say that we will work together, check together, no? And then how to improve, on the ground. So I think that of course you have to prepare for the guideline and manual. At the same time, you have to think about how to apply it on actual practices. So I think that both are important, but I think there are different way of maybe making a comparative advantage to appear. So this is what I really want to say.
Going back to the underlying principles of Gemba, Kaizen, all the learnings that Japan had in its history. So fascinating. So thank you so much. This has been great. I really learned a lot as usual. Lastly, Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners, especially those that are interested in the international development
I see.
sphere? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because I worked for international development area for many decades. I'm not a young anymore, but but I have to say that I worked for many places and different people, and all the experiences are very useful. There's no experience which are not useful for me. So what I want to share with young people is there's no such things as a wasted experiences. I think everything is very useful. So if you want to have if there are something you are genuine interest you, don't be afraid and please try to do it. And then even if you fail it, it's okay. You will learn something for yourself, and you can think about what will be the next step. You will understand what are the reasons for failure, or maybe it doesn't fit to you. But this will give you the thought, what is the next step should be. So that kind of, I think, thinking and learning is very important. And then I have one favorite phrase, by the Japanese the speed skate athlete, the Nao Kodaira. I don't know whether you know her. She said, what we are given is finite, but what we are searching for, what we are aspiring to, is infinite. That means opportunities can expand endlessly if you search for what you really want to do. But if you are just waiting for something to be given by other people, there is a limit where you can do. So listen to your inner voice and then think about what you really interest you. That is very, I think, important, and also always motivate me to think about what I should be doing. And then if you find something which you really like it, that will made you to sustain your effort continuously. So this is what I want to share with young people.
Thank you, Professor Ohno. That's fascinating. You've had such an amazing career in international development across international relations, academia, think tank, government advisory, and hearing from you that each experience really matters. You build on the experience.
That's right.
And also listening to your inner heart, listening to your calling and dream big. I think that's
I think experience will stay with you. So good one and bad one, but I think that will help you to think about the next step. So that is very important. You have to kind of, you may, if you don't do it, you will regret. But if you have experience and you will think about it, that you will kind of maybe you will think that this is the way to go. So I think those things are very much, you will be convinced. That is very important.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. First, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank
really
you very much.
appreciate it. This is a lot of fun, and we'll continue this discussion going forward. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you're interested, please subscribe and dial into our next episode. Thank you, and bye.